So we're gonna be streaming live to like 5 different social networks at once. So I need just to get a second to make sure they're all working, and then we can get rolling. All right, cool. So the way that we normally film the shows is it's just me in a room. I am not normally in front of a guest in person. In fact, I think once in 700 episodes, or maybe twice I've done that. So this is the first time I've done it in front of an audience. So I super appreciate you guys again being here. The way that we record it is we jump right into the interview, and then we post produce it, my team. We put an intro music. If you guys listen to the show, you know sort of how it goes. And if you're not currently a Keeping It Real listener, please check us out. We appreciate it. We just crossed over, I hate sort of giving out numbers, but we just crossed over 7 million downloads. Wow. And we have over 700 episodes, and we think we're either the #1 or #2 most listened to show in the industry for agents. So super, it's been fun. I've been doing it for I think 7 years now, and we put out episodes last month we slacked a little, but normally every couple of days. So definitely check us out, subscribe, all that stuff. I appreciate it. All right. So again, we're going to jump right in. So I'm going to ask Crystal a few questions, and then we're going to introduce her. So it'll seem a little unusual, but we'll do it that way, and then we'll get started. All right. I want to know, what's the best piece of advice you ever got in real estate?
The best piece of advice I ever got in real estate was when I was working at Koenig & Strait. An agent over there told me that it takes about 3 to 5 years to really set up a successful business in real estate, meaning getting leads coming in, feeling comfortable with all of the noise that's happening and all the movement that's happening in the business. And you know, sometimes we jump into this and we think, oh God, 3 months in, 6 months in, we're like, am I any good at this? Are things working? And I realized when she told me that, like, it really does take some time. So like, be patient with yourself, right? And there's so much noise happening, and you got to figure out like what's working for you and really lean into that. And I think that was probably one of the best advice, because it's like when you're getting started, you just don't know how good you are. You do a transaction and you think, gosh, I'm so great. And then next month later, you're like, oh God, maybe I'm not so great. So it takes time.
Trust the process.
Yes.
So our owner of our company, he was a Coldwell Banker agent. He started and didn't close a deal for his first 6 months. And then in month 7, he closed 6 sales. And that's Nick, you know Nick.
Yeah.
And so then he became the CAR, which is our local association for those out there who don't know that. And he became the CAR runner-up rookie of the year that year, and he didn't close a deal his first 6 months. Literally made no money.
Yeah.
So it is. It's definitely, even the best of us start out slow.
So if you think about it, if you're only in it 6 months and you decide like you haven't done enough business and you quit, you're kind of quitting too early.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't really give yourself enough runway to build a business.
Yeah.
And get comfortable with how that business is running.
Okay, worst piece of advice you've ever received?
Worst piece of advice would be you only can get business through your inner circle and your inner network. I thought that sounded very exhausting, having to call all your friends and family over and over again to ask them for a business, or if they knew someone that was buying or selling. And
the best compliment you can give me is a referral.
That right, yeah, exactly,
yeah.
Right?
Nobody wants that.
And, I mean, there's only so many people you can call over and over again. And at that point, when I got into real estate, there were a lot of friends that were realtors. So we were all, trying to get business out of our friends. And at some point, I had to look outside my inner network to figure out how else can I get business. And I kind of leaned into the branding and marketing and online presence, which brought me a lot of business.
We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but we have Crystal Tran with us today. She is a top 1% producer here in Chicago, born and raised in Chicago. And Crystal earned her Bachelor of Arts in Business and Marketing from Eastern Illinois, and self-taught marketer, website designer, and app developer. We'll talk about her app in a little bit. She's a creator of Agent Duty, which is the app, a productivity tool designed to help real estate agents work smarter and streamline their day-to-day operations. She leads the Crystal Tran team, which is a powerhouse group of 20 top producing agents. One of her agents actually found my girlfriend's mom a place recently. She's also ranked among @Properties top 50 teams. She's with @Properties, Christie's International. Her team holds the #4 spot in the Gold Coast office and is recognized by Real Trends Verified as the #2 large team in Illinois by sides sold last year. That's a very big deal. Crystal is known for her innovative tech-driven marketing strategies that get results. As a certified negotiation expert, you should all become certified negotiation experts. And luxury collection specialist, she pairs sharp market insight with mentorship, helping her team grow into confident, high-performing professionals. When she's not closing deals or coaching her agents, Crystal is dedicated to supporting nonprofit initiatives across Chicago and the North Shore. Her passion for real estate leadership and innovation powers a business built on service, results, and impact. Check out Crystal's website, huntchicago.com. And what's your Instagram?
Oh, and crystaltranteam.com.
All right. So Crystal Tran Team.
Favorite.
We will have links to that in the show notes. All right. So Crystal, thanks. And you've been on our show before, so we're so appreciative that you're back. It was years ago, and glad to have you. Glad to have you back. All right. So let's talk about right now. We were talking about this earlier before we started recording about some challenges right now. So tell me about some of the challenges that you're seeing out in the market that we can all probably relate to.
Yeah. The biggest challenge we have right now is winning multiple offers.
Yeah.
There are about if it's a good property, you're seeing 5 to 10 offers sometimes, and people are paying well above asking for it. And so working with clients, especially if they just stepped into the market and they don't understand what the market is like and how aggressive it is, they mentally might be ready to purchase a home, but they might not be financially ready to commit to what it takes to actually win the bid of the home. So I think that is our biggest challenge. We actually just had a conversation with June. She's on her second day of negotiations between being the best and final, and we're still trying to figure out strategies to get her that winning offer. So I think that's really the biggest challenge right now.
Yeah.
Not enough inventory.
I think also just the presentation of offers is not talked about enough. So when somebody's making an offer, I know a lot of agents who tell me half the time the agent doesn't even call them to follow up, doesn't text, doesn't email, doesn't say, my client wants this home, we need this home, what can we do to make this happen? And they just send the offer in like a crappy PDF that nobody
Right.
wants to open. So what suggestions do you have for agents to at least get their offers more visible? Maybe they're not going to win it, but at least they're not, amongst the pile that the person's
The
getting.
only thing that's going to really make their offer stand out is the agent who's presenting it. And so there's got to be a relationship between the buyer's agent and the listing agent. You've got to go to bat for your client, and the listing agent has to know who you are and how hard you're going to work to get this deal done. Because sometimes once you get an accepted offer, agents stop working after that point. They think, oh, I've got it under contract, I'm going to take the back seat. And sometimes, things fall apart during attorney review or inspection. And you want, if I'm a listing agent, I want a buyer agent that's really committed through the process to help really get the deal to the finish line. So, that's really what you should be doing if you're putting in any kind of offer. Call the agent. I always say the first thing, if your client is interested in a home, call the listing agent right away, even before you put in the offer. Hey, what's going on? I got a client who's really interested. What's on the table? What's important to your client? So that one, they remember my name, and number two, I'm going to stand out to them when they present the offer to the seller, right? Crystal's a great agent. She's been very, vocal, and she's very, she's going to be committed to seeing this deal through all the way to the end. So I think she's a great agent to work with, because sometimes you get an agent on the other side that just drops the ball and that can't really coach their client to kind of get through some of these objections or kind of issues that we're having during these attorney reviews and inspections. So it's just as important as the listing agent to have a great agent on the other side to help see this through.
Yeah, I know a lot of listing agents will say that sometimes highest and best does not win the deal, because it'll be an agent who doesn't show a lot of enthusiasm about the deal, maybe isn't really being communicative. And they're like, how is this person going to get this deal closed if they're not even going to bat for their client right now?
Yeah, and it really just shows how eager is your client to get the deal, right? Are they going to put it under contract and then back out? I mean, if you're submitting an offer and you're not talking to the agent, you're not really going to bat for your client and telling them how much you want it, I might think, hey, this buyer might not really want it. They might be my highest offer, but sometimes it's not about the highest offer.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about who's going to get it to the finish line.
Now, I have just another aesthetics question, because I'm always, as marketers, Crystal and I are we consider ourselves to be some degree marketers. The presentation of the offer, how is your team sending it? Obviously, there's a PDF, or you're doing it in .loop or DocuSign, whatever.
Yeah.
But what are you putting anything in the body of the email?
just breaking it down, making it really simple.
So you are putting it. Okay,
Oh,
good.
yeah. Breaking it down right there so that they don't have to go through the whole offer, right?
Right.
And that all the facts are there right in front of them, the selling points, right?
Yep.
My client's paying, 5K above, 10K above. We're putting the max amount of earnest money down, and really making a big selling point all the way through and trying to figure out, okay, what is important to the seller and how we can vocalize that in the email so that it really stands out to them.
As a listing agent, are you surprised when you see some offers come in that are difficult to get to? Don't make somebody click your PDF if they don't have to. They're going to click it anyway, but like Crystal said, put the information right in the body of the email. But how often do you see sort of poorly just presented?
A lot.
Yeah.
And in fact,
It's crazy.
We started doing a Google form where agents can submit their offer into a Google form. Like if you would in like a foreclosure setting, you would have to submit it to the bank and they'll say, what's your price? What's your closing date? What's your credit you're asking for? And so that we have that in an Excel spreadsheet ready to go to present to our clients. And so we've gotten offers past best and final, time and date, the next day. And we're we've already called for best and final. And I just feel so bad for that client because had their agent had their, stuff together, they probably could have had a chance to submit an offer and maybe could have been the winning offer. So,
yeah. So right now, guys, offers are huge and there's not much inventory. Are you, so what, it's something like 85% of America homeowners have a 4.5% or less mortgage, right? Probably more like less than 4%.
yeah.
So you have a lot of people that feel hamstrung, right? So I have a 3% mortgage. I don't want to give it up, but I'm going to, we talked about that earlier. I'm going to have to. I don't want to, but I have to. So what do you tell sellers who are like, I don't want to give that up?
Well, what's the trade-off, right? And there's one thing if you can't financially do it, right? Then it's off the table. But if you can financially do it and you just don't want to pay it, what's the trade-off for it? Are you trading off for a bigger home? Are you trading off for a shorter commute to work or to be closer to family or to be in a better school district? And is it worth it waiting? Because waiting means you don't know when that's going to come.
And what happens when it does come? When those rates do drop, buyers will flood the market, prices will go sky high.
And then you'll be paying way above asking.
Yeah. So better to at least consider, especially for people that have bought homes in the last 7 years, their value is most likely appreciated. Yeah. So, I talked to an agent years ago, this was before the pandemic, who used to say, take your winnings off the table and go rent for a year if there's no inventory. And very few people will do that.
Yeah.
I get that that's not always, here in Chicago, that's kind of a fun thing to do. You go to a high rise downtown, have fun for a year, but it's an idea to throw at somebody.
Yeah.
And I think even though it's an idea most people won't take, at least you're adding some value saying your home's up $150,000. What do you want to do?
Yeah, giving your clients some options for strategy. And it's really up to them to do what they're comfortable with. But my job is to give them all their options. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And for some clients, it's just not worth waiting. Right. They want to be in the school district. They want to be close to family. Then you got to pay, Yeah. And for some people, it's worth waiting for the rate to come down because then they could save up more money and buy a better home down the line.
And they say, date the rate, marry the home, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about your team because you've been around for a long time, 13 years?
Yeah, around that. Yeah.
13 years. And you have seen agents succeed and fail. What are you coaching your agents to do right now? Because your agents are successful. So what are they doing that you think is maybe a little different from other agents?
Honestly, it's a lot of the follow-up, right?
Yeah.
It's talking to clients when they don't want to talk to you, when they're not expecting a call from you, and when you don't need to just, getting in touch to set up another appointment, checking in with them, even if it's a year later. That's, how we're having a lot of big wins is because most of the time, when we get a client, we'll take them around for 30 days. They get buyer fatigued. Then they'll say, hey, I'll call you when I'm ready to see a house. And most agents will sit around and they'll say, you know what? Jennifer said she's going to call me when she's ready. And the truth is, she's not going to call you. She's going to see 5 other realtors, and she's probably not going to think about calling you. Sometimes it'll happen, but how we're winning is actually just the follow-up, right? Constantly reaching out to them. And we have a lot of really cool technology that's giving us a lot of signals on when to reach out, right? So we have a website. If they come on and they're looking at property, And if they're consistently looking at something, or if they're sending something to their friend, hey, they might be ready to jump back in again.
Sure.
So it gives us a great indication to give them a call and reach out. So we're just not reaching out blindly. We're actually getting
Right.
a lot of cues and indications to reach out. So that's really helping.
And right now too, if they're for no other reason to homeowners, you should be calling everyone and saying, I want to give you an update on what I think your home's worth. Like if nothing else, that's the easiest thing you can do, because everybody wants to always know what their home's worth. Everyone's checking their Zestimate anyway.
Yes.
We all check it. And so you want to be able to say, I think Zestimate might be a little off. I think I have a better valuation for you. And Zestimates in Chicago tend not to be as accurate in other markets. They're actually pretty accurate cross country, but Chicago, they have a harder time with it. So this would be a great opportunity to say, I think it might be just a little bit off.
Yeah.
What other reasons are you or your agents reaching out to clients other than how's it going? Like what do those conversations look like?
Well, I mean, it's really just following up with their lives.
Yeah.
Right? Because things that happen in our lives move us, right? We're generally moving because of a reason. We're not moving because, we're just feeling like it. There's always a need there. I mean, you're moving soon. There's a need there, right?
Yeah.
So we're following up with them to figure out, is there still a need, right? Are they still looking for something in this area, or are their kids still thinking about the school district, or is your family still coming to live with you? Are you guys still looking for this kind of property? And honestly, it changes all the time. So location interest changes, price range changes. They could have, they could have gotten a raise at
Sure.
work, right? So we're just calling to say, hey, these are the kind of notes that we had. Just wanted to see if those are, if that's still the case with you. Have you gotten a raise? Can you spend a little bit more, or has that budget decreased, right? And how
Right.
can we help you plan for that? So we have a lot of events that are happening too that really helps us, allows us to reach out to the client and invite them to get face-to-face with us, besides having a mortgage or a home, conversation about buying or selling. So that's really a nice way for us to kind of just get, in touch with our clients.
Tell us about your events. So what kind of events do you do? And and then how do you promote them?
I think honestly, the last few events, this last year, we've done a lot more events than we ever have. Our latest event was the Cinco de Mayo event. We have a lot of Spanish speaking people on our team. And, who doesn't like tacos and who doesn't like tequila and Cinco de Mayo? So we actually had it here at A&N She Shed. We could pack about 200 people in here. We had about probably close to 80 to 100 people walking in and out. We had a taqueria guy, a bartender, music, piñata. And so it was something for all ages. And we got to see our past clients come in, and they bring their friends and their family too. So it's a way for us to get face-to-face with their network. So it's,
I love that.
Yeah.
So client appreciation events are, and if you were on a smaller budget, what might you do? If you were like a solo agent and you were newer to the business and you have enough people, you can invite them to something. Any ideas come to mind that wouldn't be maybe as expensive?
Picnic in the park.
There you go.
Picnic in the park, photos in the park, dropping something off at their door, hosting at your own house or your backyard, or maybe one of your clients' backyard. Maybe they felt like you did a good job. Hey, before you move in, can I just do a small host in your backyard?
Sure.
You don't ask if you don't receive. So
I love it. Let's talk about branding, because I think this is also something that the word gets thrown around a lot, but we don't actually talk about branding. So how did you determine what your brand was?
I guess for me, like the branding started when I got a logo. I had flown out to California, some logo specialist. I mean, it was very expensive. I booked a flight, I booked a hotel, went to go see this guy. And from there, that's really started my branding journey, right? It gave me a logo, gave me kind of a level of like brand that I wanted other people to relate to me, right? And so to me, it's like, it speaks about the level of service you can give and provide. And that it's cohesive. To me, it's very important to be cohesive across the board, right? Like, so if you have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, it's very cohesive in the sense of like the quality, right? The colors can be cohesive, right? Those are the things that stick out to people, and they recognize the brand, not even by seeing your face, but by seeing an artwork or a post. They'll automatically know, hey, that's Crystal's quality. And that relates to the quality of service we provide.
So you have standards for your visual posts, your static posts, your images, videos, etc.
Absolutely. And in fact, prior to like 2 years ago, I used to let a new agent come on and give me their headshot. And I would say, okay, I'll take your headshot and I'll post it on my website. But then I started to realize, well, why am I lowering my quality of standard of branding and marketing and letting them use their photographer, right? That might not have such great lighting.
Or just a different style.
A different style overall, right? And so now we've actually made it a standard that they have to use our headshot photographer so that we all look like we're offering the same level of service and brand across the board, right? There's more recognition. And I think it's really helped us stand out a lot within the realtor community and within clients.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And if you were to sort of sum up what your brand is, what comes to mind?
Oh gosh, that's hard. What is our brand? Gosh, we're just like, I think when people think about us, it's quality, right? Service forward, client focus forward. That's what I really think of our brand.
Yeah, I love that. And you also, I think there's a selflessness component that you're probably too humble to talk about that also factors into your brand. This idea of being a giver. I think that sort of that sort of suits you, and that's how I would describe you. You give back not only to the community, you're very involved in different organizations, but also you give back to your team in a very unique way. So I just want to mention this because it is very unusual in the best possible way that something that you do. So one of the things that I admire about you is that you give your team credit for all of their own deals. What I mean by that is most teams, and there's nothing wrong with doing it the other way, but I love the fact that she does it her way because it makes her stand apart. Most teams will, when you write a deal, I'll give you a perfect example. We have a guy who just joined our firm yesterday from a huge team where he was doing 40 deals a year, 30 to 40 deals a year himself. You would never know that he ever did one deal because at the team he was at, great team, they're all great. And that team, he had to write it under, the leads number. So he had to tell me, he's like, I know it looks like I don't do anything. Trust me, I do a lot. And I was like, okay, cool. It's fine. But most team leads want that because it allows them to sort of, I don't know.
It makes sense, right?
There's awards you can get as a result of that.
Yeah. Like compiling all the sales under one person makes sense. When you're putting them under a lot of people, it dilutes, the overall main name of the brand, right? So
maybe
it can, but I figured, for me, it wasn't really about the brand. And it was, but at the end of the day, I always thought about what would I want as a solo agent, right? What would keep agents from staying on my team or leaving my team, right? And I felt that by letting agents take their own credit for their own sales, right, that it would allow them to feel like they're secure where they're at, right? And if they left, they would have a sales history with them. So like this guy you're talking about.
Huge producer.
Huge producer, but if you look in the MLS, he's done 0 deals.
And he has to explain that to everybody.
Exactly.
And there are, I really don't think there's a better or worse way to do it. I just love the fact that you do it this way because so few teams do, and it makes you stand apart. But I cannot tell you how many team members I've met from other teams who are like, oh, I do a lot of deals. You won't be able to see it if you look me up, but I do a lot of deals. Well, they have to sort of justify it because there is no history.
Well, there's a lot of syndication that happens from the MLS to a lot of these public websites, right? So like Zillow. If you set it up right, Zillow will display all your past sales and how many units you've sold. So if a top producer that's selling 40 units and I'm taking all the credit, on their profile, it'll look like they have done 0 deals and 0 sales. And when a consumer is researching you and trying to verify if you are the realtor they want to work with, and if they see 0 sales and zero deals, that doesn't look so good, right? And so for me, I knew I wanted to grow something bigger than myself. I knew I couldn't do this alone. It's not all about me, right? It's about the agents on the team. And so for me, I felt like if I was a solo agent, I would want that. And honestly, by doing that, it has allowed me to keep a lot of top producing agents on my team. And a lot of these top producers are able to get their own recognition. Agents on my team who have qualified for NAHREP, so top National Hispanic Association of Realtors, they got awarded for that. But had I retained all the numbers,
they would never know.
They would have never gotten the recognition.
Yeah, they'd have to almost Yeah, it wouldn't be counted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like being on a team, but you're still a solo agent. I still call it, you're still an independent contractor, right? You're still running your own business.
Right.
I'm just here as a success manager to help drive your business forward where we both can win out of it.
And what's the downside for you to give people their own credit?
I don't get a Chicago Association of Realtors top, award or something like that.
That you wouldn't even go pick up.
Exactly. That I probably wouldn't go to the show to go pick up.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like that one time a year, but again, we're not going in listing appointments and no one's asking, oh, are you, Chicago Association Realtors award winner? No one's asking that. And so for me, I see it that like the agents are happier, right? That they're getting that recognition and it's more important for them because I'm not doing all the work. They are. Right. So I feel like if you're doing the work, you should get the recognition.
I love that. Another just kind of great thing to look for if you're looking to join a team, something to consider, right? Okay, let's talk about AI. So if you're not using AI every day, there's lots of opportunity for you to start doing so. How are you using AI?
So two ways we're using AI. One is actually right in our CRM. It's a system called YLOPO, and it's a very dynamic system. And one of the components of it is there's an AI assistant that does follow-up, right? So anytime someone gets into our CRM, they're automatically setting up a safe search for them, and then they're reaching out to them and saying, hey, this is the assistant from the Crystal Tran team. It looks like you just came into our database. Like, can we set up a call to have a discussion with you? Or they'll still do follow-up, right? If there's some activity on a website, they'll actually reach back out to them. Hey, it looks like you started searching again. Are you interested in going out for a tour? So they're kind of doing a lot of the in-between talking for us so that we don't always have to consistently follow up. And if the client is responding, if the buyer is responding, they'll notify us and say, hey, I've taken this conversation as far as it can go. We need a real human realtor to step in and take over the conversation. So we're able to prospect a lot faster and efficiently.
Yeah, that's great. Are you also using it to help craft either marketing or listing, stuff?
Yes, on ChatGPT. Yes, absolutely. Response time is much faster now. You can, I do a lot of voice memos where I'll just speak my mind. I'll throw it in ChatGPT and I'll say, hey, put this together. And, with CMAs, it's really nice too, because, when you're doing a CMA in a very complicated property, there's so much information going in it. And that sometimes, you can get the seller confused. And so ChatGPT is a nice way to just throw it in there, clean this up. Let's focus on the most important stuff, right? And it just does a really nice job of that. So when something used to take me like an hour to write up an email and do comps, like now it can take me really like 20 to 30 minutes, which saving time is like my favorite thing in the world.
Let's talk about Zillow. So Zillow is always on agents' minds because we know that consumers, obviously it's the number one place consumers go. There basically is no other real estate website. Maybe Redfin's a distant second, but Zillow is certainly, I think they touch, I was telling Crystal this yesterday, I think they touch like 92 or 93% of all residential transactions. Like crazy, right? So they own that space. What do you think about Zillow in terms of how it affects agents?
It depends how you look at it. I mean, it's great for us. Like huge benefit for us. We're one of the Zillow Flex teams here in Chicago. It's grown a lot.
You're the only female Zillow Flex team, or has that changed?
You know what? That's changed now. So recently they've added a lot more. I would say if you said that 2 years ago, you'd probably be correct. Out of the Chicago market, but now they've added a few more. But it depends how you look at it, right? So Zillow is just taking over the real estate industry, whether we like it or not. And there's a lot of realtors out there that really just don't want to, I won't say it conform, but just use the system to their benefit, right? And I think a lot of people look at it as like, Zillow's taking my leads that are supposed to be mine for my listing. Yeah, that's probably true, but honestly, they've done it the fair way, right? You can't blame them. They got licensed, they got access to the API feeds. They're doing it all the right way. It's not illegal. They're actually a brokerage. So technically anybody can go out there and do that, right? They just figured out a great way to do it and get the consumer's trust. For me, when I was, starting my business, I wanted to really be on a lot of different platforms, realtor.com, Trulia, like any like website I could be on, I would create a profile, Yelp, Google Business, and when I started to figure out that people were building teams on Zillow, I started to create my team. And I said, okay, what is this whole team thing, right? So I started looking into it and I started creating a little team. And honestly, that's how things really snowballed for me into having a big team now, because we used to pay for leads, which some agents hate and some agents love, right? If you can't get your own business through your inner circle or at open houses, then sometimes you're paying for leads if you can afford it. And so we had paid for leads for probably 2 years, and they had rolled out Zillow Flex, which is a success model, which is you pay when you close on a property. So no longer did we have to put money up front.
You do a rev share.
We do, basically, right? Yeah. So they give us a bunch of leads. They front load us with a bunch of leads. We have to perform, right?
Or else you don't get the leads anymore.
Exactly right. And so we have to, meet the quota of that monthly quota. And once we do, then we get more leads. But I wouldn't be able to qualify for Zillow Flex had I not used Zillow, and created a team and actually bought into market-based pricing and then got on Zillow Flex, which is a very hard program to get into. It's an invite-only program.
Because they're trusting that you're going to make them money.
Yeah. Well, we were converting pretty well when we were in market-based pricing, and they said, you know what? Hey, we want to nominate you to actually interview for Flex. And we're like, what's Flex? And they're like, oh, they'll give you around, 70 to 100 leads a month, and you pay when you close on something. And I'm thinking, this sounds way too good to be true.
Or these must be the worst leads. Or
yeah. And actually, it turned out to be like one of the greatest gifts I've ever received. And I wouldn't be able to do it without Zillow, right? So some agents might look at it as like it's competition, it's taking my leads, but I looked at it as like, okay, it's giving me exposure, it's allowing me to build a team, and it's allowing me to access clients that I would never be able to access. So, even if you're not paying for leads, you still can create a Zillow profile, still collect reviews on there. And I'll tell you, like, this year we'll probably get somewhere between 10 and 20 sellers or buyers that will reach out to us from our Zillow profile, where we don't have to pay a referral fee back to Zillow. So there's so many benefits out of it. And I feel like if agents stop fighting it so much and stop hating the system and actually try to evolve a little bit and work with it and see how it can be an advantage for them.
And just think if you had to do all the searching for your buyers. You don't anymore. The buyers find their own property. I mean, yes, you help and guide them, but that's just not the deal anymore.
Yeah.
So Zillow will do that for you.
Yeah.
And in fact, even if your client's working with you, Zillow is still doing that for you, because your client's going on Zillow no matter what.
Right. They're going on Zillow. And honestly, like I've asked a lot of agents about like, this whole Compass and Zillow war going on, lawsuits. And I'm like, do your clients say anything to you about it?
They probably have no idea.
They have no clue. They don't have a clue about the war with Zillow and Compass. They don't know how the private listings affecting them. If they do go to private, they won't get shown on Zillow. Like, no one's asking about it, right? So it's really in the hands of the realtor and how they want to proceed with that listing or how they want to advise their client. Some of them don't know. Some of them aren't telling their clients, right? And if you guys don't know, if you list your property in the private listings, Zillow will no longer publicly show it once you hit the public market. They're not going to show it on their website. So this is why there's such a big war right now. And so sellers don't know this.
Yeah.
And it's losing them exposure on their property.
Yeah, and what Compass wants to do is they want to create their own version of Zillow. So they're having an issue with syndication. It's very interesting to read about. I'm curious to see what will end up happening, but it's a sort of butting of heads of different pricing models is essentially what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. But yes, your clients don't know, don't care. They only want you to help them find a property or sell a property.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's talk about the importance of your CRM or the data in your CRM. How critical is that for your business?
Oh, so critical. We have been on Follow Up Boss for probably almost 2 years, and that has been a game changer for us. Life-changing, especially if you have a team or even if you're a solo agent. I've never been big on CRMs, and I'd always joke around and say, don't give me another way to manage my contacts. But Follow Up Boss is really phenomenal. And if you've worked on something like a Salesforce before, Follow Up Boss is strictly for realtors. And it just helps us organize us in such a way that no client gets left behind. Because, when you're on our team, once you're a trained agent, in 1 month, you'll have anywhere from 10 to 20 leads. Month 2, you'll have 20 to 40. Month 3, you'll have, and it really adds up. And so how do you manage over 100 contacts that you're getting within the 6-month span that might be ready to buy or sell? So aside from that, it's recording conversations, which we love. Some agents hate it, but it's really nice when we have a conversation with a client, right? And they're giving us this 5-minute conversation with all these details. I no longer have to call one of my teammates and be like, okay, this is the 5-minute conversation we had, and this is what they said, and this is what they're looking for. I'll just assign it to an agent and say, listen to the conversation.
Yeah.
And then they pick up and they go, right? So there's, again, saving more time.
Or even plugging an AI to that. AI will do that for you. Upload the transcript, summarize key points, drag and drop
Exactly.
it in.
You just go back in and it's, everything is right there in your dashboard. So we're finding great ways to connect other like integrations within Follow Up Boss, like Zenlist.
Yeah.
Zenlist is a big one. Now, instead of going to Zenlist to see activity, we can see it right in our dashboard. So every day we live and breathe through Follow Up Boss.
Let's talk. My last question is around private listing network. When does it make sense to use it, and when do agents not use it correctly? So when do you find that it's a good tool to use?
Again, it depends with every client. If you want to get, obviously as a listing agent, you want to get the listing up front. You don't want to wait for a month in case the seller meets another agent and then they say, oh, well, my cousin's going to list a property, right? It's really important for us to take the listing up front and help them prepare for that listing, advising them on how to prep the house, fix up the curb appeal of the property. So that is really important for us. For the seller, it gives them time to, help prep the property, get advised by us, right? Engage the relationship and move forward. Right now with having to understand with what's happening with Compass and Zillow, if if an agent's coming in and saying, well, let's just throw it in private, and you don't understand how that affects you, right?
Right.
Once you throw your house in private listings, Zillow will not show it once you go active. And actually that is, they're not punishing the seller. They're actually punishing the agent.
Right.
So it doesn't link. So like, say for example, DJ lists a property, he puts it in private listings, and then he goes on public, and they're really not getting the visibility they would, right? They thought they would. Because now if you've listed in private, they're not going to list in Zillow. So now, I don't know, 30 to 40% of listings are maybe not on Zillow anymore. So if a seller is thinking, oh, I should get multiple offers, my neighbor next door, we have the same exact house, they got this kind of traffic, but then your traffic's limited. That means that Zillow's not showing your home. And if 85% of buyers start their home search on Zillow and you're not on there, then you're really missing the mark for your client, right? So understanding how that works is really important. But if you want to possibly use it, a lot of properties sell in private listings, right? And for a seller, it could be a great way, a negotiating tool for them to say, you know what, this buyer has made an offer. I'm in the private listings. They want me to not go public, right? So now that gives that seller the ability to negotiate with the buyer a little bit more to say, hey, if you give me X, I will not, go on the public market, and we could just do the deal right here. So it just depends, who's using it, and understanding, that tool is really important, how it affects the seller again, and the agent, right? Because sometimes, I just don't think all the agents are really on top of the like Compass Zillow news, right? And understanding how it affects them. Like we found a workaround with it in terms of being able to use both, right? Private and public. So because they punish the agent, we will list it under our team name, and then
very smart.
Public, then we'll put it under the listing agent.
So if you're going to put it on private, put it under somebody else's number.
Yes.
I guess the point. All right, guys. First of all, big round of applause for Crystal Tran. Thank you. Thank you, Crystal. All right, questions for Crystal. What do you want to know? This is a top producer. What do you want to know from her? Who's got a question? Yes. Oh, so the question was about Follow Up Boss.
Follow Up Boss is actually owned by Zillow, so I'll put that out front. It is a CRM, and it's a very intelligent CRM. It's, we'll keep track of all your clients, and it's really, a platform where there's a lot of integrations that can go into it. So like, for example, I have a website that has an IDX. IDX is basically a property feed, a syndication from the MLS, right? It shows properties on your website. That is also connected in there. So you can connect all these tools. So And before I had Follow Up Boss, I used to get, leads through my texts, leads through my emails, people calling me, and it would be all these sources everywhere. And I would just forward an email to an agent and be like, hey, follow up with this person.
And then you'd never know what happened.
And I would never know what happened. I would forget about the client. I forgot that I'd sent over 20 contacts to God knows who, and, and just hoped and prayed. Now I can actually keep track of it, right? Like who's talking to who, when's the last conversation we're having. And what's nice about that is in your follow-up boss screen, I'll have the history of all your communication with that client, right? So if you talked to a client last year, you can actually go back and listen to the conversation or follow up on the notes. Hey, Jen, last time we spoke, you said your mom was in town. How was that? Did you guys end up going on that boat? Oh my God, great. So what's going on for this year? What's the plan, right? So it just helps you really stay organized and on top of your business in a way that I have never, ever, ever seen before. Yeah. So I really love Follow Up Boss.
Do you encourage your team to follow their prospects and clients on social?
I guess I've never said that. No. Okay. I guess we'll stalk them if we can to kind of verify who they are. But Follow Up Boss also has an area that will actually Google that person. Yeah. And if there's a resume on them, it will show you on the left-hand column who they are, right? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes, a lot of us that are working in real estate, we don't know if the client's real or not. Are they a scam? Are they, one of those people that I want to buy a detached single family home? Yeah. Those
contact my WhatsApp too.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, no, I don't want to have the phone call conversation, but it actually helps us verify that they're a real person. Mm-hmm. So like, if I could see on my, in the bio, it says, oh, this person's a professor at Northwestern, I am already on top of them. I already know, hey, well, they're maybe, teaching at Northwestern. Maybe they want something in Streeterville. Maybe they want something, so you just get a lot more insight on the client. And like, you don't have to remember everything by little notes or Excel spreadsheets anymore. It's right there in front of you, and it's magical.
Do you have your agents, do you suggest to them to create on Facebook a business page and they're public, or do you have an opinion about whether agents should post everything related to their business on their public profile or on their business page?
It depends how active they're going to be on it. Like, only do it if you're consistent and you're active.
Meaning only have a business page if you're going to do a lot with it.
Exactly.
Got it.
And honestly, like in an Instagram setting, it will dilute your visibility, right? Because not all the people on your private page are going to follow your business page. So if you're not going to be really aggressive and consistent about posting on your business page, keep it to your personal, right? But if if you're building something, I think for me, because I built the team, I was like, well, I can't put all my team stuff on my personal page. It was time for us, right? Sure. And so we're constantly adding to it. So if you can't keep up with it, don't do it, because the worst thing in the world is to look inconsistent, right?
Right. Last post was a year ago.
Last post was a year ago. Are they still in business? Are they still selling? Do they know what the market's like? Right. And so these are people make assumptions all the time. We assume things all the time. And so people assume that stuff when they look at your profile. If it's not filled up correctly, if you're not posting things, if it's not of quality, then they might not relate that to being professional.
And what type of content does your team put out individually? So let's talk about video content. So what kind of videos do your team make for their own personal, either their personal Facebook or for the, for your team?
Well, every time we're touring, we're trying to do stories.
Yeah.
Right. Because at any moment, because we're a Zillow Flex team, we have, connections to maybe 30 stranger buyers a day. And they want to go and verify that we are the specialists in the area. They want to verify that we're knowledgeable and that we know what we're doing. Right. So if they go to someone's Instagram page and that person has posted a story from today of them showing a home, there's no better way to say that you're an active agent than doing that. So that's number one, right? So anytime anyone's on a showing, it doesn't matter if the house is falling apart. It doesn't matter, just post something. It doesn't have to be the most edited video. So that's one thing. They tag the team, so we post that. But then there's other things that we try to get into, whether it's a real estate topic or if it's a property tour, if it's a great Brokers Open they've gone to. There's ways for them to edit those videos. But recently we've leaned into really building out like an introduction page for our Zillow page, right? So in Zillow, you could post a video and it could be an introduction of yourself, right? So we're having the agents do a video that's just talking about them and the service they provide and how they can service the client. And so it just gives the client another way to kind of hear their voice to see what they're like, how they speak, and and if they can relate to them. So,
and if you don't have buyers or sellers right now to actually go to a listing appointment or just go tour a property, call up an agent and say, I want to make a video of your property. Is that okay?
Yeah.
95% of the time they'll say, of course it's okay.
Yeah.
Come on in, and then just go and do a 60-second video and say, look at this cool thing in this place.
Well, and I also think it's important that, like, if you're not, if you don't have a lot of business, it's important for you to look at houses anyway. You can't go into the house for the first time and it being like $1 million home and you're more wowed than the client. You can't walk in and be like, wow, wow, wow. And the client's like, oh, this is, this is a regular product for them. And when you're more kind of shocked than they are, they might sense that you've never been through a property like this. So when you see more homes, you can understand a floor plan, a feel, and a flow, and then compare homes, right? Well, I've been to a few homes on this block, some of them are like this, and that's what they want to hear. They want to hear about your experience. They don't want to be your first experience, right? They want to know that you've come with a lot of, mistakes that you've learned from and great tips that you can provide to them. So I think it's really important for agents to tour, even if they don't have a client.
What about you have a listing appointment or you have a buyer appointment, and what about visiting the property beforehand?
Oh, if you can make it happen.
If you're not busy, you should be able to make that happen.
Absolutely. I mean, if for a very important client, and if it's a property you've never toured before, get in there, get in front of it, like, be knowledgeable. Don't let it be the first time that you're looking at the MLS sheet going, what are the taxes? What else is, it doesn't look good. You want to, selling a property is walking in and really selling every part of it and not being like, oh, wow, for the first time.
Sure.
So,
or at least fake that you've been there. Fake that, or at least
study the MLS.
Drop it into ChatGPT. Say, tell me everything you know about this property and anything about the area that somebody who's buying a home would want to know. So ChatGPT will summarize. I was amazed what it knew about my condo, like a year after I bought it. I was shocked. It knew the kind of countertops I had. I was like, I don't know how it knows all this. Yeah. It was awesome. So it knew when it was built. It knew it was really
yeah.
Really
and
cool.
I guess one of the other important things that people don't do is like an aerial view of the property. Like, see what's in the area. Is it backed up to a train? Is there a park nearby? Is there, or is this a bigger lot than some of the other homes? Like, there's so much that you can assume by looking at Google Maps, and then sound like the specialist when you arrive. Oh, hey, yeah, 3 blocks away, there's this great kids park. It's got this cool slide. The kids will love it.
And if clients have a dog, you should know where the closest dog park is. Know things like that, right?
Absolutely.
Last question around around choosing a geographic area to specialize in. How important is narrowing that for you and your team? Like, you obviously can't be everywhere. You can't know everything. What do you sort of recommend to agents? Like a solo agent, let's say. Yeah.
I've always let my business organically take me where the business is. So I can't say that I'm like hyper focused in an area unless you like live in the community, you have kids that go to the school, it makes sense. But during the pandemic, one thing that really held us up was that while the city was failing and all the sales were failing and, homes weren't selling, we still had a lot of business in the west and northern suburbs that really held up our sales. So, and actually it was a lender that actually told me that. And he said, what I like about your business is that you're very diverse on where your business is coming from. Because if we were a city agent, our sales would have tanked that year dramatically. But because we had coverage and because we had leads in the suburbs,
people were flocking to the suburbs.
It held us up big time.
Yeah. Last question. A lot of agents don't want to do rentals. You are a big proponent of rentals. Why?
Well, it's a great way to get started. It's a great way to get in front of clients.
Quick money.
We recently just acquired GoChicago.com. So we have a huge influx of luxury leads coming in. But it's a great way to get started. Honestly, those people convert and they buy, right? They'll end up buying a home at one point, and they have a pretty healthy budget if they're looking in Chicago, especially if they're looking at a luxury property. I mean, you can't get into one of those properties for under $25,000. So what does that mean? That means they can buy a much larger home down the line. So you want to hang on to those clients.
And what percentage, or not what percentage, but how often does a former renter become a buyer?
It's happening a lot more now, actually. Like, we're putting a very heavy focus on it because of the acquisition of Yo Chicago. We're really leaning into that a lot more, So I would probably say around 3 to 5% yearly.
That's huge. And that's great too, because those people already have worked with somebody from your team. They know, they probably like them, they trust them, they know them, and they're going to choose a realtor when they buy a place. So that starts the relationship before. And a lot of realtors just never want to do rentals. And so it probably opens up the opportunity for.
Yeah. And honestly, at some point, like these rentals can only offer so much, right? They don't really feel like homes. As much as you wanted to make it your home, there's a crying kid across the way, there's parties going on, there's all this noise, and the units are small now. They're fitting 3 bedrooms and 1,500 square feet or 1,200 square feet of space. And so, when that renter gets sick and tired of living that way and they want a space to call their own and their own private rooftop and, walls that are a little bit thicker so they don't hear their neighbor, that's when they're going to be ready to make a jump, because there are a lot of people that are sick and tired of renting and living in that lifestyle. So,
and I also think it's a great opportunity to educate renters. Like, we're going to buy a home next year. I'm going to show you how to do that. Or, we're going to get you out of the apartments are great, but we need to get you into building equity, et cetera, et cetera. And right now, the average first-time home buyer age, I don't know if you knew this, it just increased. It used to be like 32, 33. It's like 38 now.
I believe it.
And it's a real problem because that's not enough time to build real equity. And it could become like almost a retirement issue for a lot of people. So it's a great education piece, I think, for renters. Nothing wrong with renting. Renting's great. But, it's important to understand, I think there's just a lot of people that don't know they can buy before they Google search it. Right. And I think that's an opportunity for agent to step in and educate. All right, guys, I want to thank Crystal Tran once again. Let's give her a round of applause. All right.
Thank you.
Crystal is awesome. On behalf of our audience, Crystal, thank you so much for coming back and being part of our show a second time. And on behalf of Crystal and myself, for everyone who's either here in the live audience or will be listening to us once we produce this or watching live, we appreciate you as well. So thank you to our audience. Also, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to A&N Mortgage for allowing us to come here. Please give them an opportunity to on your next transaction. And and we will see everybody on the next episode. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, DJ.
Okay. We're actually done. Tell everybody about Agent Duty real quick.
Oh, Agent Duty is an app that I created to help agents streamline their business. So if you're a busy agent looking for help within your brokerage, you're going to be able to connect to an agent that's available on the app to help you with showings, inspections, right on the go. Because most of the time when we need help, it's usually like a last minute emergency situation, and oftentimes we don't find it. So Agent Duty is going to help you align with other agents within